discuss the border issues and settle it by discussion, not by military means. So I came back, I informed Morarji Desai, he was very happy. Then he asked Mr. Vajpayee to go, who was a foreign minister, and the talks began improving. One day in 1980, I was telling Morarji Desai just before he had given up his office. I said, I've just discovered that Kailash Mansarovar is in Tibet and nobody is allowed to go there. Why not talk to the Chinese about it? He said, Chinese, they are communists, they don't believe in religion, so they'll never agree. I said, what's wrong with even talking about it? So he said, no, you go and waste your time if you want, but I don't think it is worth your time. They will never agree. So I went to Paramacharya. I went to Kanchipuram, and I said, you asked me to befriend China. I've opened relations between them. But now I want them to reopen Kailash Mansarovar route. So, but Morarji Desai and others tell me it is impossible because they are communists. He said, why don't you just take a plane and go to Beijing and ask them, open Kailash Mansarovar, they'll open. I said, what, like that? He said, yes. So I went to Beijing and just to give a lecture at the Beijing University. Then I met the Chinese leaders and I told them, I want you to open Kailash Mansarovar. Now, they said, well, we don't know. I mean, the top leaders didn't know what Kailash and Mansarovar were there. So they said, you give us 2 months and you come back again. By then, the Lok Sabha elections came, Mrs. Gandhi came back to power. And then, the Chinese re-invited me. I went back and I told the Chinese that it's very important for us people. It's a pilgrimage spot. You have closed it. Must reopen it. They said, we have investigated the whole thing and we have come to the conclusions that we will open Kailash Mansarovar. But there is two conditions. I said, what are the two conditions? She says, first, you must walk to Kailash Mansarovar. Because you have given us so much trouble. We have to find out, now we have to improve the roads and this and that. So you also have to suffer a little. So you promise that you will go first. So I said, certainly, but it's a lot of climbing. I'm not used to climbing so much. No, you have to go. So I agreed. Then he said, the Chinese said, the second condition is only Hindus will be allowed, no Muslims and Christians. Now, if it was a Janata government, I could have got them to accept it, but it was Mrs. Gandhi's government. So I came back, I met Mrs. Gandhi and I said, Kailash Mansarovar, I can get it opened. There are two conditions the Chinese have put. I don't know whether your government will agree. She said, what are those conditions? So one is that I must go first. She said, that's not a problem. You go in the first delegation. Then I said, there's another condition which may not suit your ideology. She said, what? I said, they say only Hindus will be allowed. So she became quiet. Then she said, if I say yes to that condition, will you tell the press about it? I said, no, I won't tell the press. So she said, I agreed to that. Even today, the Chinese told me if the Muslims and Christians come, they'll come as tourists. What is the need for that? Our country can't afford it, the security aspects. So it's only for them. So it was agreed. And then after 6 months, the Chinese informed me, and so did our Ministry of External Affairs, that you can now go to Kailash. We will, with you, send about 19 other people who will accompany you. And I think it was the first opening to Tibet. So I think those 19 people were mostly intelligence people and all who wanted to see the lay of the land. So I agreed to go. Then I found out it means climbing, and it was end of August of 1981. It meant climbing up to 22,000 feet and then go over a narrow pass and down into Tibet and then again go. And all this walking, I've never walked more than 1 or 2 kilometers for morning walk, but I never thought I'll have to walk. And it was 140 kilometers of walking, and was spread over for 10 days, which meant 10 days going, 10 days coming, 2-3 days there, almost a month. So, and anyway, I had given that as a condition, so I decided to go and see Paramacharya. I told them, you see, all our people are scaring me, that they're all big cliffs, you will fall off. Most people go there to die, so because they want to go to heaven. So if you go to Mansarovar and die on the way, you will go to heaven. All this they are saying, but I want to come back. So he said, you go, nothing is that will happen. So I was relieved. Then I said, I have one more problem. Last year I was absent from my house during my birthday on a political tour. And I have 2 small girls as my children, who I promised next birthday I'll definitely be in Delhi without fail. So let me this time, don't mind it. So I given this promise. Now the dates that the Chinese have given means that the 15th I will be just returning and will take 10 days more to come back. So I will miss my birthday. I will be reaching back from Mansarovar at around the 14th of September. My birthday is 15th September. So how can I disappoint my children? Shall I postpone my visit? He said, no, you go. I said, what about my birthday being in Delhi? So he said, you just go, we'll see. So I went, and it was a beautiful experience. And I've again gone this time in June last year. And Kailash is, seeing is believing. It's absolutely divine. And since then, even though Prime Minister opened a new route with a motorable route, the Chinese have closed down that. But they have not closed down this. And they have also informed me, we have closed your Prime Minister's route, but not your route. So don't get angry. So today you can still go via Pithoragarh and Garhwal and to Mansarovar. Now when I came back, when I reached the border on the way back from Mansarovar, it was 14 September. I crossed, and then there was a camp. So in that camp, I was made to stop. Now I was wondering what Paramacharya told me, no, nothing will happen. And now I'm sitting here. Then it was a military base, that place. A military man came running with a telex. And I looked at the telex. Telex said, the Prime Minister has authorized a helicopter to come and fetch you from that place, it was called Kalapani, and bring you back to Delhi. So on the 14th night, I arrived in Delhi by helicopter, not having to walk down. And who could do this but Paramacharya? So from this 1977 till 1 month before his Samadhi, I used to meet him regularly. He used to explain to me political ideology. I think I have not known anyone that say, he was obviously God. He told me, you are very critical of Soviet Union. Why? I said, they are already in Afghanistan. Tomorrow they'll come to Pakistan, then they'll come to India. So he said, no, nothing like that will happen. There will be no Soviet Union. I said, Soviet Union? This is in 1982, 81. He said to me, there will be no Soviet Union. He said, no, you don't talk about them. Don't waste your time criticizing Soviet Union. So in 1990, Soviet Union broke up into 16 countries. There's no Soviet Union today. So only Russia is left. And others are Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan and Ukraine and so on. Now, how did you know this? If I had told anywhere in the world that the Soviet Union is going to break up, people would have thought I was mad. It was such a powerful united country, people thought, but it broke up. So on so many other political issues, he had been informing me, telling me whenever I used to meet him. I also went to once he went to Satara. So I went, and part of the way I walked with him, and he was showing me, see, this monument is this old. I mean, he seemed to know everything, the entire history, and he wanted that to be renovated. I think now he had ordered at that time a Shiva Mandir to be built in Satara, and probably it's being built. So like that, he asked me, I asked him one day that why is Hindu society divided? So he said the Hindu society is divided because of this last 1,000 years history. Correct history must be written. Then I studied history, and that's how I come to the conclusion that most of the history that we have is bogus, written by Britishers. There's no such thing as Aryan, there's no such thing as Dravidian as a community or as a race. Dravida is a word which comes out of a sandhi of Tra and Vid, which literally means South India, where the three coasts meet. Arya is, the word Arya is there's no word Aryan. But the British made out, the whole of India was full of Dravidians, and then was ruled by Dravidians, and then from Europe came the Aryans through Afghanistan and the Khyber Pass, and then beat up the Dravidians and drove them south. And today we have a political party in Tamil Nadu called Dravida Munnetra Karagam, and which says, no, we are different from Northerners, and this division has been planted in the minds. So he told me that this is bogus history, and now I've been able to prove it's bogus history, because the DNA, modern DNA studies now show all Indians from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, from Jamnagar to Dibrugarh, they have the same DNA. Whether it's a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian, they all have the same DNA, which means that Muslims and Christians are also, their ancestors were Hindus. And if the Muslims and Christians accept this, then we'll all become one family. They say, no, we have come, Muslims say Gori and Ghazni is our ancestors. That is not true. They should either show the DNA is the same as Gori and Ghazni, which they can't. So, and in the Ram temple matter, he one day told me, do you know Shahabuddin? I said, yes, he's a good friend of mine. You call him here. So I said, call him here to the mutt. He said, yes, I want to talk to him. So I brought him, and he told, when Shahabuddin saw Paramacharya, you'll be surprised, the most militant Muslim leader, he started weeping and started saying, Paramacharya, please save this country, let us all be united. So I asked Shahabuddin afterwards, you breathe fire in press conferences, but before Paramacharya, you are weeping. What is the problem? How did this happen? He said, no, you see, I saw divinity in his face and I couldn't stop my tears. And this solution that we are now heading towards through the Supreme Court, the idea that Ram temple must be built where faith tells us he was born, and that a mosque can be built anywhere else, because mosque is only a place to read namaz. It is not a religious place in the sense of a temple. Temple, because of the prana pratishtha puja, the deity enters the idol and becomes the owner. of the temple, and everybody else can only be trustees. They cannot be owners. And I proved this for all the places in England in their House of Lords hearing, when a Nataraja statue was taken away from a disused temple in Tanjavur by smugglers paying the gatekeeper 25,000 rupees only. And they were auctioning it for 5 crores in London, in a Sotheby auction. And the High Commissioner informed our government. That time Chandrasekhar was Prime Minister and I was not only Commerce Minister but as Law Minister. So as Law Minister I sent people. We argued this Prana Pratishtha point, that once Prana Pratishtha Puja is done according to Agama Shastra,